All right. Welcome to the Erik Anders Lang Show.
Awesome, thanks.
Jim Fish. I feel like we can get into so many parts of your story, CEO of Waste Management, but first, I feel like you've probably had some good nicknames throughout your life.
You know, I actually, because of my last name, I mean, that's kind of been it. It's not, I mean, you have a guy with the name of Smith or something. I mean, you know, you got to give him a nickname, but
Right.
Fish is kind of a natural.
But anyway, Jim Fish, it's impossible to have a first and last name with fewer syllables.
That is true.
Have you thought about that?
I mean, I was shooting for 0, but I don't think you can go 0. I mean, unless you're like Freud or something, right? Just go one name.
This is where we get into the concept that you live the sort of minimalist waste management lifestyle.
Just one syllable in each.
One.
That's part of our hiring protocol.
You're not going to waste syllables. You're not going to waste products. How do you? We are. People may think that we have a great rapport from the start, but we're friends. Would you agree?
You bet.
You're smiling.
You don't call me that much, but you know.
I don't. Well, I don't want to bug you. You're
That's right.
CEO.
But
of
we are
Fortune,
friends. We're absolutely
Fortune
going to
500.
dinner tonight, right?
We are going to dinner tonight.
There you go.
Fortune 500 company is Waste Management. True.
That's true. Actually, could almost say we're Fortune 200. We're close, like Fortune 208 or something.
208.
Yeah.
And that's the
Not
threshold.
that I'm keeping track.
I mean, I would imagine that's a big deal, big difference. Does that anyway? I mean, I think it's cool that we're friends. We have a bit of a history. We've done a lot of fun things together, played golf together. You may not know this, but one of the highlights of my life. You may not know this. You may not know this. Last year, you invited me to play Oakmont with you.
Yes.
And even though we haven't played Oakmont,
We're going this year.
or we haven't texted, as you said, throughout the year, and that's my fault primarily. I'm sorry, but that was a really nice thing of you to offer to me. And I was really, I do look forward to it when we do get the chance to do it.
We're going this spring.
Okay,
We're going this spring. We got to connect on this.
great. I love it. Golf has been a part of your life for how long?
By the way, you're the only friend that's interviewed me from a portalet.
That was how we met.
That was exactly. That's how we met.
There are. Well, I won't even get into it. Anyway, golf and you have been connected since how young? When did
I
you?
started playing golf when I was young, 8 years old.
Okay, wow. So that's kind of how has it traveled with you into your it's interesting that you start off as you're 8 years old, you're playing golf. Waste Management isn't the title sponsor of the Phoenix Open at the time, and now you're privileged, I would say, to be in such a wonderful position with a company that is so deeply involved in golf and bettering the game of golf and bettering the planet. That's a really cool experience, I would imagine.
I mean, it's interesting because I started playing golf as a young kid, but as an adult, I mean, golf is such a great sport because there's so many aspects of golf that are so attractive. It's the sustainability aspect is attractive. It's great as you get older. So as we all age, we're not playing pickup basketball anymore or fast pitch baseball, but golf lends itself nicely as you to both the young and the aging like me. And but there's a sustainability aspect to it. It's fun for friends to get together. You have an ability, unlike a sport where there's a lot of fast pace, where you're really not talking to anybody because you're focused on whether it's tennis or basketball or whatever. You're focused on the game. Golf, you have time in between the action, and the action is just a shot, and then hopefully you have a lot of time because you hit it a long way. But you have time to socialize. So there's a social aspect of golf too that I enjoy.
You the idea that there's a lot of pro-ams throughout the year. Obviously, there's I don't know how many tournaments a year, 38. Well, now there's probably the wraparound season. There's probably 40 events. Or something.
Yeah, it's north of 30, right? I mean,
it's got to be. And there's a lot of pro-ams for each of those events. Now, there's really only one pro-am to rule them all. I mean, that's probably not even my words. Someone probably already said that.
I would say there's two pro-ams that are unique.
Interesting.
One is ours. And Phil Mickelson actually told me, look, yours is so unique. He said your entire event is Mickelson said when I played with him one year, he said, I can count on one hand the number of tournaments that have an identity to them, and yours does. And I said, well, why is that? And he said you got the gigantic crowds that no other tournament's close to. He said you have 16, which is lunacy. he said you have this huge sustainability message that nobody else has. I mean, you take the biggest golf tournament in the world and turn it into a zero waste event. That's unlike any other event. And then he said you have this huge amount of money that goes to charity. Last year, I think it was $13 million. So he said those 4 things. I said, man, you need to do a commercial for us. And he said, I'm expensive, but our tournament's clear, and the Pro-Am itself is unique because the crowds that we see on Saturday carry back into the week to the Pro-Am. So we had, I think, 90,000 there last year, and a normal Pro-Am is like 2,500 people.
90,000 on a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday.
Not even any actual competitive golf being played.
Well, I mean, you're playing, but honestly, you're much more nervous about even the best golfers. I talked to John Morris about it a little bit, and John's a good golfer. I'm a decent golfer.
John Morris, the COO,
yeah.
our good friend as well. We're going to dinner at his house tonight.
Truly a friend of yours.
And we played in the Pro-Am together. I got lucky. Someone got an injury, and I took their spot. We played together. But anyway, tell me about your handicaps.
I just saw it yesterday, 7.5.
Okay, and what's John?
I think John is a little less consistent than I am, but I would guess John at an 11. That's what I'm going to guess.
I can't see John's face. He's
John,
over there.
11. He's giving me the thumbs up.
He's watching.
I'm going to guess John 11. By the way, the other Pro-Am that's unique, I mentioned two,
right.
ours and the AT&T. And the AT&T for a totally different reason.
Sure.
Because you're playing on their work days. So
right.
You're playing on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and no other tournaments like that. But those 2 tournaments, in terms of the Pro-Am, ours for the reasons I mentioned, AT&T, which is actually the week after ours, because you're actually playing on the day that the pros are earning money. I mean, they're not earning money on Pro-Am day in most tournaments, but when they're playing the event and you're playing with them, that's nerve-wracking too.
So you have played in how many Waste Management Phoenix Open Pro-Ams?
So I've played in – no. I've probably played in – I'm going to guess I've played in 9.
9.
So here's one quick interesting stat about me. I've played in 9 – I think 9 of ours plus 3 others. Okay. So I'm sorry, no, two AT&Ts. So I've probably played in 13 or 14 total Pro-Ams in my life.
That's awesome.
And I played one year with Dirk Bentley.
These aren't just little Pro-Ams. These are the 2 best Pro-Ams in the world.
Yeah, so two that were not AT&T or WM.
Okay. And
then so 2 others. But in those 13, in 11 of the 13, the player that I played with, and I'm not playing with Tiger or, I've played with Phil a couple times, but I mean, a lot of times, particularly early in my career, I was playing with number 145.
Right.
But in 11 of the 13, the player that I played with won an event that year.
Whoa!
So I played one year with, and in 5 or 6 of them, they won a major that year. So I played with Dirk Bentley one year, and we played with a guy named Jonas Blixt.
Sure.
Super nice guy, but he was, a sophomore on the tour, second year on the tour, had never won an event, and so. And I told him, I said, there's this thing called the fish effect. And he said, what's the fish effect? And Dirks actually was the one that coined that term. So Jonas won a tournament, and he was ranked number 180 or something. He won a tournament like a month later. And then he is tied for the lead in the PGA on the last day. And Dirk sends me a note and goes, dude, if he freaking wins this thing, they need to auction you off to play with the pros.
Yeah, you're like a shaman.
Yeah, exactly.
You would then actually you would set the books.
Yeah.
You could. I wonder if then could you actually bet on the player? So I guess whoever you're going to play with this year, I will bet on for the Masters.
You should, because 11 out of 13.
That's a good.
Well,
number.
I don't know about the Masters, but bet on him to win something.
Just spread them out throughout the entire year.
Exactly. Just place a small bet for each tournament.
Well, what I wanted to get at is because you're a normal golfer,
right? Well, I don't get to play as much as I only got to play 7 or 8 times last year, but I enjoyed it.
That's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
That's not a lot. You got to get those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
I know we're going to go to Oakmont, so we'll knock out a couple there. I get 2 rounds around our tournament.
That's it.
I'm not playing AT&T this year. That's 3.
So what I'm trying to kind of get at is for people listening, right? The people listening, no one has played in any Pro-Ams, much less the coolest Pro-Am in golf. And I've only played in it once, so I don't have that much experience with it. But we were talking a little bit having coffee here before we turn the mics on about your experience on what holes terrify you.
Yeah.
Did you use the word terrify? I don't think you did. You had a different word.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's terrify, but honestly, there's 4 holes that intimidate's probably the right word. I mean, there's 4 holes that really intimidate me, and
it's
3 in
16
particular.
16 isn't one of them.
Well, if I take it to 4, 16 would be fourth. If I put it in order. And the reason 16 is not as intimidating as the other ones is because it's a short hole. So
Right.
how bad is it going to be on a 9-iron or wedge? I mean, even though you have,
I just keep thinking shank. That's what I think of. I think of shank, or I think chili dip.
I don't really think shank. I will say this: when you walk into 16, you did it. When you walk in there and there's 20,000, 22,000 people there, Justin Verlander, I played with him last year, and he said it was like Russell Crowe walking into the Roman Coliseum in Gladiator. And
Right.
so I watched Gladiator last night, and I thought about that.
You watched Gladiator last night?
I watch it every time it's on.
Are you not entertained?
That's right.
It's
Exactly.
such a good movie.
Come on, my wife says, I've never seen this before, babe. She goes, no, you've seen it 100 times. But so that's what 16's like.
I'm going to watch it tonight after dinner.
Perfect.
Maybe we can watch
great.
it at dinner.
Good idea. I think John probably has it on.
Speaking of which, we got to get Russell Crowe out to the Waste Management.
We do. Is he a golfer?
Who cares? I just need
Let's
him
get
to
him out
talk.
Let's just get him to walk into 16. And
He should just freestyle.
Yeah. He just seems like a tough dude, though. I mean, it seems like he's perpetually in a kind of a bad mood. I don't know.
I think, he does seem like, anyway.
I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but in his movie parts, he always seems like he's
Well, and
pissed
there are
off.
some stories surrounding his life. But anyway, we'll get into. I'm curious to know about what is it like to play in front of that many people.
Well, so that's why those holes are intimidating. For me, number 18 is the most intimidating because there are a ton of people on 18. There's tents all down 2 stories on the right side, and tents all along, and there's people everywhere. A couple years ago, I actually hit it far enough right that I had to hit over the top of a whole bunch of people.
Ooh.
And so that one's intimidating because if you get it going, the wrong direction and it lands out in the middle of nowhere, it's not like playing golf on a Saturday where there's nobody else. You might have to go over and apologize to the group across the way. This one, it's going to hit somebody if there's 90,000 people there.
Yeah.
So
You're like hitting into another party. You just
Exactly.
hit a barbecue full of people.
no, that's right. That's right. And by the way, of the 90,000, only 5,000 know there's a golf tournament going on. The other 85 are there for a barbecue or a party.
What do you tell yourself? Do you have something that you tell yourself to make yourself feel better about that reality?
I do have to talk to myself a little bit.
What
I
do
have
you
to kinda
say
say,
while you're
look,
out there?
slow the swing down and kind of don't worry about the crowds. I mean, it's hard, and it's taken me. I said I've played in 9 of them. I bet you it took me at least 6 years
Right.
to get at least remotely comfortable with this. I mean, and number 1 is another one that's uncomfortable because there are
That's
big
tough.
crowds.
And you're coming in cold. They
Yeah.
announce your name. I guess I'm curious to talk a little bit generally about did golf. Does that ever figure its way? A lot of people say you get business done on the golf course. Is that like a thing for you, or not really?
I don't think so. I'm not sure I've ever. I don't think I've ever closed a deal on a golf course. Honestly, I mean, we've had customers, and we take customers every year to our tournament, and it's good relationship building. But I don't know
It's
that
more
I've-
entertainment.
Yeah, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, and now we have had some customers who have been so enthusiastic about the event. I mean, it is so unique. I mean,
Yeah.
it is as unique as any event, as any amateur event, probably in the world, because you're playing in front of all of these people. This whole 16. I've played with a couple of CEOs, large company, much bigger than us, who have played in their share of pro-ams. And in one year I played with a guy who, when you get to hole 14, the tee box, you start hearing this kind of dull roar. It sounds like the artillery at the Maginot Line or something. And he's like, what is that? And I said, that is 16. And so you start getting nervous. And when he walked through that tunnel to get into 16, he said, wow. He goes, I don't think I can feel my hands. And this is a guy he's been in all these pro-ams. So, and on the first hole or on the tee box, he said, yeah, I've done this. And so Jim Trevathan at the time said, okay, all right, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So it is, we do attract customers who we build a relationship with them because of the uniqueness of the event. But I don't think I'm not sure we've closed any national accounts or anything like that on 14T.
But on some level, without outstanding the tournament, outside of the tournament itself, I feel like golf is such an interesting way to reveal character with, most likely, I would imagine, maybe coworkers, right? Would you ever use golf as like a interview process, or does golf ever help you reveal things that you might not otherwise be able to see?
I mean, I'm not probably smart enough to figure that answer out, but there are some books that have been written about that. I mean, take somebody out to play golf in an interview, and if they're constantly taking gimmies, that tells you they cut corners in life, and if there's a whole bunch of parallels between golf and if they have real high highs and low lows on the course, that's something to be worried about.
Interesting. Are you talking about me?
I don't know. I'm not a student of sociology or psychology, I guess is what it would be. But I know that there are some things you can tell about a person when you play with them. You can probably tell you can tell I'm not a very good golfer. That's what you can tell about me. But I don't have real high highs.
You're an easygoing guy.
Yeah, I try.
And I think one of the questions I really want to ask you is, how do you contextualize some of the most important attributes of a person in your position? What is the most important part of being a CEO of a?
Well, I think whether it's easygoing or I do think that minimizing your super highs and your super lows, because you're going to have both in a corporate job,
right.
and I would tell you that low lows are much worse than than highs are high. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean,
you're talking about literally dealing with like a problem.
Yeah.
Within the company.
Exactly.
Maybe
it's if you have something and fortunately we haven't had many of those at Waste Management, but you have to be able to deal with those problems and deal with them, think them through and not get pissed off about them and try and tack them. It doesn't mean you don't ever get upset, but there are those bosses. I think those are more kind of in the past, in a different generation, who yell and slam doors and that when you're trying to set a culture, and one of the things that we've really done on our senior leadership team is try and change the cultures. It's I think the millennial generation has an expectation, and I think rightly so, that they be challenged in their jobs, that they feel like they're valued in their jobs, that they feel like there's upward mobility for them. And so that's when we talk about our company, we've coined a term that's called people first. And part of that is incumbent upon us as a senior leadership team to make sure that we don't have real high highs or low lows, that we treat people the way they expect to be treated, that they would want to be treated. It's kind of the golden rule thing. And so I think those are all important traits, and it's kind of EQ a little bit. I mean, you hear the term a lot.
EQ.
Emotional quotient. It's kind of the opposite.
I've never heard that term.
Intelligence quotient, IQ. And look, you got to be reasonably bright to be in an SLT position, a senior leadership team
SLT.
position.
Okay, you're just hitting me with things.
Sorry about all the acronyms, but EQ, I think, is in today's world is equally, if not more important than IQ. So your emotional quotient is and understanding people, because look, generationally, my dad's generation was much different than my kids' generation, and right. What their expectations are at work.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the highs and lows within the office, because my first thought was, wow, that totally cycles back into the golf experience. And I'm thinking, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh yeah, I remember I got really, really upset for that last round of golf, that didn't necessarily prepare me to play the next hole very well. And ultimately, in golf and business, the whole idea is you're trying to prepare yourself to do what? To succeed with the next problem.
Right. No, that's right. I think we all, hopefully, and there's a level of maturity with that, right? I mean, I've probably broken 20 golf clubs in my life, but it was between the ages of...
Really?
Oh, yeah. At
that
14,
surprises me.
Oh, you should... I broke 5 a year at age 14.
What, over the knee, throw them on a rock? What's the go-to?
Couple of them over the knees, not as much fun. I don't know what they do with the shafts, but yeah, over the knees, not. That's just. I mean, throwing them, hitting them. Trees, nice.
Right.
I've hit a couple on golf carts.
Good.
That's always hard.
This is great to hear, though, because now you are one of the most laid-back dudes that I know. Yeah. You really are.
Well, you would like to think that at my age you're not breaking golf clubs anymore. If you're breaking golf clubs at my age, or at our age, I guess I'm older than you, but still, even at your age, you shouldn't be breaking clubs.
You can include me.
All right, well, you're younger, but you shouldn't be breaking clubs. At 14, 18 even, I'll cut you some slack. So, I mean, I think part of that is just maturity. I mean, I think part of EQ is a little bit of maturity. You become, as we become more mature, we become a little bit more even-keeled.
Yeah.
But there's still those folks that are not, that don't handle pressure very well, and these jobs are pressure packed.
Best piece of advice you have been given?
It was I would tell you the best piece of advice I was given was from my father-in-law, and he was a pipe fitter in St. Louis, Missouri. He passed away 10 years ago. But when I was moving from corporate to the field, and I started with the WM in 01. Waste management, and I was in the corporate office in every job I've ever had. From moving to corporate to the field, my father-in-law said, "Look, worst thing you can do is go out there and sit in your office." And he said, "Go out and A, learn the business, and B, meet the people." And he said, "What kind of meetings do they have?" He was a pipe fitter, so he wasn't familiar with our business. And I said, "They have what's called crew outs, where the commercial folks go out at some time. They might go out at 3:00 in the morning, and then typically roll off goes out, and then residential goes out last." And he said, "Go to those," and he said, "Go to one a week." And so for 7 years, I went to one a week, and I'd rotate around and go to different sites. And by the way, he said, "Don't just go to the last one. Don't go to the 6:30, because he said then the 3:30 folks will say, 'Yeah, he came out to the 6:30, but he couldn't make the alarm at 3:30. So,
you're talking 3:30 a.m.
A.m. Yeah.
Dang.
No, I know
That's early.
That's early, and I'm not a morning person.
Do you just stay up? I
tried that one time. And in between meetings, we had a 1 a.m. meeting, and this was in Rhode Island. And I just said, I'm a late night person. We'll just stay up. So I was fine at the 1 a.m., but then we had a stretch between 1 and 4 till the next meeting, and I was sending emails. And by 3 o'clock, my emails are like unintelligible. You couldn't even, you couldn't make them out. So I said, that's the last time I do that.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, but that was great advice from my father-in-law, and I think he'd be proud of the fact that I went to 50 sites last year, and it's just something that I still continue to do and try and ride along, and John's done it forever, because John really grew up in the business. I didn't. I started in 01, and I came from a different industry.
That piece of advice is really great, and I'm kind of curious to dig one step below that. Is what is he actually saying to you, though? Like can you generalize it for everybody? Because like I said, not everybody listening to this is a CEO. What is he really saying about what you need to do or be as a person?
I think I don't think he really knew exactly, but what ultimately he was saying was, look, it helps to humanize you, because a CEO particularly a CEO, there's this kind of aura around a CEO. I don't get treated like a celebrity very many places, but when I go to like the Waste Management Phoenix Open, our employees kind of treat me like a celebrity, and it took a little while to get used to that. It's not something I wanted or relished, but I do have to understand. When I go out to sites now, there's a little bit of celebrity status there.
Sure. And
so part of going out to a 3 a.m. crew out and riding along with a driver and just asking that driver, tell me about your kids. Tell me about, what did you play sports in high school? What's your favorite sports team now? Whatever that person wants to talk about. If they want to talk about politics, we'll talk politics. If they want to talk about safety programs at the company, or if they want to talk religion, I don't care. Whatever they want to talk about, we'll talk about. But it's really not anymore about learning the business. I've been out there enough. I know what they're doing. It's about humanizing Jim, because our driver I went out with a driver 2 months ago, and he asked me an interesting question. 28-year-old kid, and he said, "Jim, CEO," he said, "I've never met a CEO before." He goes, "What's the difference between you and me?"
Ooh, good question.
And I said, "It's not as much as you would think." I said, "Honestly, I'm not a better person. I don't work harder. It really, you and I are pretty similar." I think my father-in-law was basically saying that, which is go out and be with those folks, because those are the folks that really do the work for the company, and it helps humanize us as a senior team and me as a CEO.
What a beautiful story. I could just picture that guy. What's the difference between me and you? That's an interesting. What an interesting person to ask you that question.
Yeah. No, I've never had that question before. This guy has 5 kids between the ages of 3 and 11. His wife had a substance abuse issue and left, so he is raising 5 kids by himself. And boy, talk about what's the difference between him and me. That he has. And one thing I told him was, you have a lot more stress in your job than I do. And I said, it's a different kind of stress, but I would tell you, if you're a cancer survivor, if you're a dad raising 5 kids by yourself, or a mom raising kids by yourself, or or if you're having to worry about paycheck to paycheck, that is way more stressful than having to worry about what our next quarter looks like. I mean, it's a different kind of stress, but life stress is way more stressful than job stress. And I think helping to keep that in perspective, is going out and meeting with some of these folks.
Before we take a break, I'm kind of curious to know, I feel like you are I think that's a bad way to say it. It's not that you're good at dealing with stress, because I don't know if that's the thing that you can actually do. It's more like you just, I guess, I feel like I read somewhere, some business book, they said, we interviewed these people and they said that they wanted to be able to take on more stress. And it's like, no. Like that's not a real thing. You can't actually do that. The goal was to feel less stressed or something like that. Anyway, I'm not really eloquating my point properly, but what I was going to say is, without knowing a lot of people who are in similar positions to you, as far as having these big things to worry about for big companies and that ultimately affect thousands and thousands of people who work for those companies, you seem to be not too stressed about it, but I'd imagine you're in the minority.
I don't know, because it's not a topic. I know a number of CEOs. We don't talk about that topic specifically.
Why not?
I don't know. I think it's just never come up.
Too EQ, not too much EQ.
No, it's just never come up. But I think I've always said about stress that stress is overrated. I think stress. Stress is what I said earlier. I mean, if you've got a kid that's got a terminal illness, that is stress. Or if you're not sure how you're going to pay the rent next month, that is stress. If I worry about, we might miss the quarterly earnings, that's not stress. I mean, that is just, okay, yeah, it's something we got to figure out, and we got to figure out how to message it. But that's not stress compared to what people in this world deal with all the time. So that's why I say stress, particularly stress in these executive jobs, is overrated. If I lost my job tomorrow, fine, I'm okay. Whereas if I'm living paycheck to paycheck and I lose my job tomorrow, now all of a sudden I'm like, wow, how am I going to pay my car payment? So, they pay us well in these jobs, and that helps certainly eliminate the financial stress. There is pressure on the job, no question about it, and I don't want to, short sell that, but I just feel like, by the way, part of what I always say, and it's not that I'm evangelizing, I just tell people who I am. You are who you are, but I always say faith, family, and job in that order. Those are my priorities, and it helps me kind of keep things in perspective that the first two are more important to me than the job. The job is very important, and I have a position that is responsible for 45,000 people, but keep it in perspective.
The ordering of priorities is, I think, Bobby Jones has the same.
Is that right?
Because I'm pretty sure it was something.
That's where the comparisons stop between Bobby Jones and me.
We talked a little bit about the best advice given to you, but as we go into the second part of the podcast, one of the things that is I really recognize as being part of my potential contribution to people's world is they say, how can I get into the golf industry? What can I do to get into the golf industry? So I do try to focus on people, young people, maybe people who are trying to transition out of what job into a job that's fulfilling to them. It seems like you're very fulfilled in your job. Is try to, offer, okay, well, how did I get into this? And actually, I'll share one tidbit before I go and ask you a question. I was at Waste Management. It was my first year. This is 4 years ago. By the way, I'm actually wearing my Waste Management shirt.
Nice.
I got. It's embroidered memory of mine. And anyway, I was there, and I was just starting out in my career of hosting, which I didn't really want to do. And I think you and I have talked about this. And there's all these wonderful celebrities at the tournament. One of my idols at the time was there, Chris Berman, ESPN announcer, and funny guy. And I went up to him and I said, Chris, I've been tasked by the PGA Tour to host a golf show. What would you give me as a piece of advice? And he, without even batting an eye, he said, you have to be interested. If you're not interested, it won't be interesting to other people. If it's interesting to you, it'll be interesting to them. And I really have found that to be true over and over and over again. And I guess I'm curious to know if you have any similar advice for anyone who might be coming to you and saying, look, I want to be in the field of business. I want a job like yours one day. What would you suggest I do now as a 20-something and, I'm just living my life?
A couple things that come to mind. One is some advice I got from a CEO at Waste Management 2 CEOs ago. So his name was Maury Myers. And he said, kind of broaden your scope a little bit so that if you really want to rise within the organization. In other words, I was always a finance person. And Maury said, look, if you go out and take an operations role, not only will you learn the business, but you'll also give yourself a second opportunity to move up, because it is a pyramid structure at these companies, and there's only a very small number of positions at the top. So, but A, it helps you learn the business more if you broaden your scope a bit, and B, it expands the number of opportunities you have. The other thing I would say is that putting people first once you get into a managerial role, and doesn't necessarily mean a senior vice president or a CEO position, but you're eventually, in many cases, going to move into a position where you're managing people, and you should always think about putting your people first. I know sometimes companies think about their customer first, or maybe if they're publicly traded, they think about their shareholders first. And a guy a long time ago named Herb Kelleher, who ran Southwest Airlines and passed away last year, I think, said it's people first, then customers, and then shareholders, because it has to be in that order. I mean, if you put your people first, then they feel fulfilled, and then they'll treat the customers right. And if the customers are happy, then your shareholders are happy by extension. So I would tell you, as you move into a managerial position, the most important thing you can do is pay attention, listen to what your people are saying, and put your people first, and then they will put your customers first, and so on and so forth.
Interesting. We talked about, I love thinking about things like that, like airlines, hotels, waste management. It's like you have 45,000 employees. That's a lot. It's remarkable to me that you can have everybody function in one direction. That's just so interesting to me. So anyway, I'm curious to talk to you more about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have everybody going in the same direction, but we have a lot, and I mean certainly have the majority, and that's why the company has done as well as it has. I think the stock price is close to quadrupled since 2012. That's pretty strong performance.
That's a lot.
And the reason for that, I would argue, there's multiple reasons, but if you have multiple people going in multiple directions, you can't possibly hope to accomplish that. So we have 45,000 people largely moving in the right direction, largely understanding what our strategy is, and that's really important for a big company.
You talked a little bit about the playing in the Pro-Am and the experience there. It kind of laughed a bit when you were talking about how the team that you work with sees you as a celebrity. It must be really interesting to have that, but at the same time this is the most high level Pro-Am with other celebrities playing in it.
Right.
I mean, Bill Murray has played in the waste management.
He may have. He hasn't played when I was there.
It's been a minute. He's the only one I can think of that hasn't played in it.
Yeah, I think the AT&T is the week after, and so he always plays in that. So sometimes I don't know that he plays in ours, but
yours is
we've had a lot of celebrities though,
and it's really athlete heavy.
It is very athlete heavy, and in fact, we even though the Super Bowl is always the same week as our event, we still get a lot of football players, and we get football players who say, "Look, if I don't make the Super Bowl, then I'll play in your event." So we had Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago. We'd love to get Aaron back this year, but he's number 2 seed in the NFC. So if he doesn't make it, he's hopefully an option for us. But we get a lot of baseball players. I played with Justin Verlander last year. I played with Greg Maddux.
What does Verlander say about playing in this event?
Well, all of these celebrities have been exposed to big events and a lot of attention, but none of them have played, even in their own sport, in front of a crowd that big. So when you think about 90,000 people, and that was something that Greg Maddux told me, he said, not only have I never played golf in front of this many people, I've never played anything in front of this many people. So it is unique for them, and that's part of why they like playing. There's a little bit of a buzz within the particularly the sports celebrity group that you got to play in the Waste Management Phoenix Open because the crowd is crazy and hole 16 is crazy. So last year Justin was FaceTiming his brother, when he walked into 16, he's kind of showing, and he said, I feel like Russell Crowe in Gladiator, but it is unique for those folks too, even though they've done a lot of things in their lives.
That surprises me. I would think that nothing would faze them.
No, I played with Michael Phelps. He said, "Man, I am so nervous," and this guy's won, 35 gold medals.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I guess when they're playing their sport, they have their thing. Golf, they're not necessarily as proficient in.
Well, that's right. It's not their deal. It's Maddox told me. He said, "Jim, I'm a pitcher, so when I'm in front of 45,000 people in Game 7, I got it
with the glove
on. I'm not a professional golfer, and so in front of 20,000 people, there's some butterflies."
You mentioned briefly the idea that these fans. How many fans come out for 1 year? What's the most? It's like
for the Pro-Am?
No, for the entire week.
For the whole week, yeah.
It's like 400.
No. It's 750,000. I mean, I think
750.
Last year for Saturday, it was I think we had close to 300,000 for Saturday.
That's insane.
Maybe slightly over.
That's insane.
I think the number was more on Saturday last year than any other event has for the entire week except for 2. So there's 2 tournaments that have that many people for the whole week that we had for one day on Saturday.
And all without creating any waste.
It's a zero waste event now, and this will be, I believe, our 9th consecutive year, maybe 8th or 9th consecutive year of zero waste. And the reason, even though this is our 10th year as title sponsor, we didn't do it in our first year, and I don't think we even did it in our second year because it involves a lot. I mean,
Tremendous.
It's not just something you say, I think we'll be zero waste this year. It doesn't work that way. You've got to get vendors involved. You have to get fans involved. You have to educate fans. We have a lot of people on the golf course that you probably don't even know they're out there, but they're educating you on what goes where. But you won't see any trash bins on the golf course. There are no trash bins on that golf course.
That is probably not easy, but secondarily, it's probably very important for other events to see and potentially take note. Has there been a ripple effect?
Absolutely. We've had companies call us and say, "Can you help us?" I had a sponsor for the upcoming World Cup.
Oh, wow.
Called me a couple weeks ago. When I say upcoming, I think it's 2026.
Is that Russia?
No. The 2026 is in Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. And
okay.
So in the U.S., they want to make that a zero waste event, and so they're calling us. And the interesting part about the golf tournament is it's zero waste for the biggest, in terms of attendance, golf tournament in the world. I mean, there's no other golf tournament. There's no other golf tournament that's close. It would be one thing if you had 50,000 people there for the week and you're zero waste. But when you have 750,000 people there for the week and you're zero waste, then why can't a 50,000 attendee tournament do it, or why can't Super Bowl do it? But you do have to. There's a lot of coordination that's involved. Even amongst the PGA Tour players. I mean, they're involved with this. The PGA itself, all of our employees. We have a lot of employees that dedicate a lot of time to this event. So it's fans, it's vendors, it's employees, it's the media, it's the players, it's the PGA Tour. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in order to make that happen.
And you also are on this footprint of land that's massive, and it's just sprawling. I mean, one football stadium is big, but it's probably a little more than a couple hundred yards.
Yeah.
You've got a golf course is a couple hundred acres.
Right.
Yeah, it's complex. But then even beyond that, you guys are talking more and more, I'm hearing, about recycling. Is that, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, recycling is, we're the biggest recycler in North America. I mean, it's a critical part of our business. Our customers ask for it. We've had, the business has been slower in the last couple of years because there's been some pressure from China. They have some quality control restrictions and that they're imposing on us, and honestly, rightly so. I mean, they should ask for high quality material, and so what we've done is taken a longer term view of it and started to put different types of equipment into our plants. I mean, in the short term, what we've done is charge some fees for if we have customers that are contaminating their recycle bin, then we may charge them a fee. So
contaminating the recycle bin.
If you're putting your Thanksgiving turkey carcass in your recycle bin, that's not recyclable, or at least it isn't through our equipment.
Yeah, that really messes your stuff up.
Right. So
That's bad.
So that's bad. So we've been charging fees for that, and
Like when you see the turkey, you're like $10.
$10, yeah. So I don't know how much it is, but
$10 for the turkey.
that's right. So
You're lazy, bro. Get the turkey out of there. I mean, it's recycling just sounds like so complex and so hard.
it's kind of a manufacturing business if you want to think about it that way, because you're taking all this material and you're turning it into you're turning it into something different, which you're turning it into a clean commodity. So it comes in the front door, and if you go to one of our recycle plants, it looks like a huge pile of trash coming in the front door. Yet on the back end, it's all clean commodity. It goes out to, whether it goes to a paper mill or whether it goes to an aluminum smelter or whatever. It's clean commodity. It goes out the back end of the plant, and then we have a certain percentage that is non-recyclable.
The turkey,
and the turkey goes into, and that's ultimately about a little less than 20% of what comes in the front door of the plant goes out the back door of the plant as trash.
Turkey.
But the turkey goes to, ends up going out as trash.
It goes, yeah, and you have to landfill that.
We take that to a landfill.
Right.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, am I wrong? Am I wrong in thinking, this could be an incorrect assumption, is recycling just really, really expensive?
Well, it's more expensive now than it was 2 years ago, because part of the business model of recycling is you sell those commodities at the back end of the process. And if China is putting a lot of pressure on the price, which has kind of been the end result of their quality control restrictions, then we're making less money out of the back end, and so therefore we have to charge more on the front end. So it has become more expensive today than it was 2 years ago, but that's why we're trying to change the process. I mean, we're putting more equipment. We've got what's called a recycle plant of the future that we've put in Chicago. It's got 14 optical sorters. A normal recycle plant might have 2.
Optical, so it's trying to look for the turkey.
It looks for the turkey. More importantly, it looks for things like milk jugs. And it spots a milk jug coming up the line, and it shoots a stream of air when it sees that milk jug and knocks it.
Why is a milk jug bad?
No, it's good. Milk jugs are very valuable for us.
Save the milk jug.
Save the milk jug. Yeah,
high priority.
Those are high priority.
Put it in the front of the plane.
That's right. So it looks for it. So and that's a good point, because what we've been doing historically is what's called negative sort, where I stand on a conveyor belt and I pick the stuff off that we don't want. So I pick the turkey carcass and the bowling ball and the garden hose off, and then everything else in theory that goes past is recyclable. Today, those optical sorters pick off what we do want. So it picks off the milk jug, and it picks off the Tide bottle, and it picks off the cardboard.
Sorry, maybe I'm in the weeds here. Is the milk jug any better than any other recycling material, or a milk jug is just a random example of anything?
It's just a random example, but it is valuable material for us.
I was just thinking milk jug was like a 777 or something, like at the slot machine. No, it's not. Just a regular milk jug. Okay. What'd be fun is like a recycling video game for kids.
I think we did something like that years ago. I think we actually had a something at Disney in Orlando, and I don't know that it's still there, but we did something with landfilling, and I think we might have done something with recycling that was a little bit of a display, and so WM was associated with it, of course. I don't know that it's still there, but my wife has told me we need to have a recycling game of some type, and so
everything scrolls by, and you use the air jet to knock off the.
I like it.
That could be good. My friend Nate Bergazzi is a great comedian, and he has a bit about recycling, and he's like, honestly, I don't know anything about it. I looked it up, and it said that the most important thing to do is to talk about it with friends and family. And then he paints this kind of humorous picture about what his friends and family is like, and they don't really want to hear about recycling. But it's kind of ironic that in his brilliance, he's talking about recycling in a way that's kind of, doable. Because I imagine a big part about recycling with the public is getting the turkeys out of the way and getting people to just do it the right way. I mean, because, recycling actually isn't expensive to me. I don't even know why I think of it as expensive. It doesn't even matter. Right, because I just put it in the blue bin in my house, and I learned that I need to empty the soda out of the can and get the turkey into the black one.
There you go.
Yeah. But why is that so hard?
I don't think. Look, the turkey in the recycle bin. I don't think anybody truly thinks that's recyclable. That's just laziness.
It's laziness.
Exactly. Where we do though get get mixed up a little bit is when you have somebody that says, look, the cover, the back cover on your cell phone there, that's made of a plastic material, and
It's actually leather, but
oh, yours is leather. Well,
okay.
yeah, that's high dollar. But mine's plastic. So
I apologize to the vegans, but it's the one that actually here's why I like this one is because it lasts the longest.
yeah, see, mine didn't last very long. I had a Dallas Cowboy thing and it fell off.
Right. The leather one's good because it ages well. So the older it's like a wine.
Yeah.
The older it gets.
All right, so I'll use your glasses as an example.
Yeah, the glasses are a better example.
Glasses are a better
They're
example.
plastic.
That's probably all made of plastic. The lenses are plastic, probably. Maybe they're don't tell me they're glass, right?
They may actually be glass.
And you're a high dollar guy. Everything's, everything. All right. So my reading glasses or my regular glasses are plastic. So
Right.
do I put those in the recycle bin?
Yes.
It's made of plastic. Why not? And,
Right.
the answer is no, that does not go through our equipment. So we need to either figure out how one of the things we're looking at is how do we sort out that type of plastic and use it for productive use? When it goes through our recycle plant, it's not like the milk jug. It's not like the plastic water bottle that has high value. That ends up going into the trash pile. And so how do we figure out a better use that's a sustainable use that takes the low-value plastics? That's where the contamination comes in. People that put turkey carcasses or garden hoses, stuff like that, they probably know that's not truly recyclable. But
I would think a garden hose is recyclable.
yeah,
My opinion, my thought of it
there's a
is
bunch
that
of stuff in there.
things that aren't recyclable are food, like the turkey,
Yeah.
and liquid.
I mean, the problem with
liquid.
garden hose, and it goes back to what our equipment is capable of. A garden hose has a bunch of strands within the core, so it's not just the rubber material. But our equipment can't break that up. I mean, it can't break. So that rubber material is somebody that would use that in replacement of virgin rubber says, I don't like this because it's got these strands of thread through it, and that's what gives the garden hose strength. And they don't want that.
I think I need you to just. We're going to take a break. I'm not going to hit cut.
Too detailed for it.
What the hell should I ask you about this? I feel like I've taken you on a 19-minute tangent about recycling. That's not. I don't know. What is? I need help.
You need help? All right, I'll see what I can do.
What should I say? Like, what should I ask you?
Well, I think we were going down the golf tournament, and I think.
Well, Julianne was like,
here's one
bring
thing
up
I would say
recycling.
about it. Every company today is expected. Millennials expect companies to have a social purpose. It's not just earning money. What's the social purpose of waste management? For us, it's natural. I mean, we're an environmental services company, so having a true social purpose, which is making the world a better place through recycling, through sustainability, that's natural for us. If I'm a different kind of company that doesn't really have a connection to sustainability, then maybe my social purpose is something else. Maybe it's it's employment, or maybe it's feeding the poor or whatever. But for us, we chose sustainability because it's a natural for us. And I think the big message around sustainability is, and recycling is a kind of a smaller component of that, is how do I save natural resources? That is the goal of recycling, by the way, saving natural resources. And if I've done that, then I've done something that's socially responsible. And Waste Management's goal, or one of our goals, is to be the most sustainable company in the world. And so we're trying to figure out how we take your glasses or my glasses. Yours are not recyclable. But
Mine are not.
Mine are. How do we take mine and do something productive and save natural resources?
The most sustainable company in the world. That seems like probably you get just as many eyebrows raised as one got when they said, I want to make a zero waste event.
I mean, it's a big, bold goal, and we're not there yet. But I think we have the potential to get there.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that day.
We're taking big steps, and when you take a golf tournament and turn it into a zero waste event, then you can start saying, look, we can take this tournament and use it as an example of how you do it in the sporting world, and then translate even further beyond that.
We're about to go play some golf. We're going to play 9 holes. What do you typically? Do you like to gamble? What's your golf routine?
I'll gamble. I'm not a huge gambler.
Okay.
I think the winds. I saw 40-mile-an-hour gusts. That's a big concern for me today. My game is really temperamental.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. We talked a little bit about the idea of slowing down the swing before before we turn the mics on here. What are you going to be working on today?
I'm always working on direction. Distance is not usually the problem with me. It's direction. So, and then, of course, with 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, that does not help my direction. So
No.
I'll be working on that.
Well, it could help it if it's blowing against the wrong direction.
True. I mean, it could work in both.
That would be lucky.
Typically, wind doesn't help somebody with direction problems.
No. This is your home course, though. We're here in Houston. This is your home course.
Yeah. So, it's not technically my home course. It's actually John's home course.
Oh.
But I've played here a number of times with him.
So we're both guests today.
We are both guests. Yes.
Okay,
so let's don't do anything stupid out there that's going to embarrass the member.
I will. I will definitely try to embarrass John as much as possible.
Barefoot or something.
We've got 9 holes. We're going to play a match. What should we wager?
I don't know what are you thinking? Dinner. I mean, although actually
Dinner's covered.
Dinner tonight
Dinner.
since the Morrises are paying for it.
They're already paying for dinner.
That's kind
Got
of
that covered.
No risk. We could do dinner another time. I'll come out to your neck of the woods. Come out to LA, and we'll,
That'd be good.
And we'll do dinner. Either you pay or I pay.
We could do dinner's good. I mean, I feel like we could come up with something more creative. I feel like we could dig a little deeper. I'm gonna see you in a couple weeks at the Waste Management.
Oakmont?
There could be
Oakmont's good.
Oakmont's good. I mean,
Although
you
we're
already
not
invited
wagering
me.
that because we're already doing that.
You already invited me.
Yeah. So that's.
And usually, I
mean, money's boring. We can always do that, but that's kind of boring.
No, it's a little boring.
Yeah.
It should be something a little bit. We should definitely TBD this. We should really come up with a good wager. Any ideas we got a couple people listening. I feel like John's got an idea. What do you got? It has to be something embarrassing. Definitely from New Jersey.
I mean, I used to play cards with my wife all the time. We don't play as much anymore, but we always wager. But it was very different. I mean, what a guy wants and what a girl wants are a little different. She would always, her side of the wager was I have to do the dishes. Mine was always,
Right. How about this?
Different.
The loser has to make a hat that says I'm a big, and then if you win, I'll say I'm a big Jim Fish fan.
And wear it where?
And somewhere, maybe whatever. I don't know.
Like our golf tournament.
Like maybe during the Pro-Am. You have to wear it during the Pro-Am.
There you go. All right.
And then if you win, I have to wear a hat that says I'm a big Jim Fish fan.
Jim Fish rules or something.
Yeah,
like
you
that,
get to decide. One piece of clothing gets created. This is all coming up totally. Do you think this is possible?
Oh, absolutely.
This is good, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Waste Management because that's a big day for you. That's a big work day. And you don't need to go out there and create a bunch of questions around who I am.
I fully intend on winning, so this is going to be you walking around.
Wow, this is... Okay, so you're a 10 handicap. I'm a 5, so I'm going to give you...
You're a 5?
I'm a 5.
Wow, all right.
And if I play well today, you're even going to accuse me of sandbagging.
I'm nervous now. All right, so
you're going to give him what?
Some
3
big
strokes?
event. It could be like a Dodgers game for you or an Astros game for me, where
Sure.
you got to wear a hat or a T-shirt that says I'm a big Jim Fish fan.
Do you have like a weekly newsletter?
We do.
I'd like to see you with a photo of you in that newsletter. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
And some type of public event. And then I'll do the same. I'll do a social media. I'll do
All right.
big Jim Fish fan.
Perfect.
Kicked my butt.
There's more risk to that than betting $5 a hole or something.
The truth is, though, honestly, the secret of this is that it's actually just great because we're both really great people. And so it's not like we're doing
it'll
any...
be fun.
This is good.
Yeah, this will be
All right, so and I'm going to give you 3 strokes, right? For 9 holes.
My math says 5, but...
You're what? You're 5. No, but 5 over 18. So we're going to play 9.
Okay, sorry. Bad math.
Whoa. I thought you said you
that's
were
just a little negotiation.
the CFO. Not anymore.
Yeah,
now you're focused on big ideas.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I did admit earlier that my handicap is 7.5.
I thought you said it was 10.
No, 7.5.
All right. Well, I'll give you...
So actually,
2 strokes?
Give me 2.
That's generous.
And that's generous because I should get like 1 and...
Maybe I should be playing for stock options. Silence.
Yeah, well... that has to go in front of the board. It's messy,
If you're watching, also if you're listening to this podcast, it's also available on YouTube, and we're gonna play a little golf. We're gonna make a video here. But if you're either way, listening or on video, you should definitely watch the video that Jim and I made last year, where you and I was your co-CEO for the day.
Yeah, that was fun in the mini WM Waste Management truck, right?
That was great. We had a golf cart waste management truck.
It's not a real. I mean, that's a heavy. It's like a golf cart that looks like a commercial front loader, and
that was a serious piece of art.
Not easy
actually.
to drive, right?
I almost crashed. In some of the footage, you can see it.
Yeah, it's a little top heavy, so you got to be careful.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being a guest.
This was fantastic.
Thanks for
Thanks for having me.
It was great. I really enjoyed a lot of
Good
what we
luck
talked
to you
about. Already talking smack. All right. Well, we'll see you on the course.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to go do my own warm-up routine.
Perfect.